Alright, so this is going to be using a pillowcase to go up a wall. This is a good way to start to progress into overhead movement for someone who has a lot of difficulty in their shoulder or a lot of problems keeping their shoulder in the right position. So I have a pillowcase. Everybody should pretty much have one of these lying around somewhere. I take my hand in the pillowcase, and if I can, I want to try and pull a little bit outward without my elbows flaring. So a lot of people here want to flare out at their elbows to compensate with their deltoid. I want you to do your best to try and keep hands and elbow and shoulder in a straight line. And there's a couple ways I'll do this. So one will be hands on a wall or a door like this. And maybe I start off just holding isometric tension and seeing as I pull apart, can I squeeze my shoulders a little bit down and back as opposed to something like this happening. So as I lightly pull against that pillowcase, I want a little bit of a downward squeeze of my shoulder blades. And that's a great place to start. So I could be here, outward pull without flaring my elbows, and lightly try and tense my shoulder blades and relax. If that's going okay, from here I would start seeing, can I maintain that outward tension and do some light movement on the door. As I start to go up, I actually try and drive more through this bottom surface of my hand. So I'm kind of driving this way as opposed to this. So I kind of lead with my pinky as I drive this bottom portion of my hand into the wall to help me engage more of the underside of my arm and shoulder blade as opposed to excessively engaging the top of my shoulder. So, and here, as I'm starting to move, I kind of drive my elbows down and in like I'm kind of scooping and back out. Down and in and back out. And obviously from here I'm trying to go progressively higher up through this range of motion. As I start to get here, I usually switch people to a staggered stance, so as their arms are going up, they'll start to take their nose towards the door, and they're trying to maintain that outward tension without the elbows flaring as they come down. The most problematic range is typically this mid-range right here. So I have some patients that will actually start them off up here, right? So they might have an easier time starting up high and then slowly lowering down and maybe working on the top of the range. And then they may gradually come deeper, trying to see where they either get pain or where they feel like they're not able to control it any longer and trying to stay just short of that. You also notice in my lower back, I'm not letting it fall into this position. So I try and keep my pelvis underneath me. As the shoulder gets tired, I'm going to start to struggle, and I want to try and minimize how much I compensate my lower back. So I do want to try and keep pelvis underneath me, a little bit of stomach tension, and I am kind of driving into the door a little bit as I go up, and a little bit of a pressure into the door as I scrape down. But ideally starting in whatever range I can that does not bring on pain.